Welcome back to the ABC General Hospital Spoilers channel, where today we'll dive deep into the riveting tensions and unexpected twists set to unfold in Friday's episode on October 10th, promising a whirlwind of betrayals, secrets, and high-stakes decisions that could reshape Port Charles forever. In the heart of General Hospital, Nathan West is poised to drop a bombshell declaration that leaves everyone reeling, especially his devoted Britt Westburn, whose world might shatter under the weight of his bold ambitions. Picture this: Nathan, no longer confined to the sterile confines of his hospital bed, steps out in crisp civilian attire, his posture exuding a newfound confidence that hints at his readiness to reclaim his life beyond these walls. He utters those electrifying words, "As far as I'm concerned, the sooner the better," a phrase that echoes through the corridors like a thunderclap, signaling his impatience to discharge and embark on whatever mysterious path lies ahead. But whispers among the staff and fans alike question the authenticity of this man. Is he truly the Nathan they all remember, or has some shadowy imposter slipped into his identity, perhaps tied to long-buried WSB operations from his detective days? Adding layers to this intrigue, Nathan's past brushes with danger, including those intense undercover stings that nearly cost him everything, now fuel speculation that his end goal involves unfinished business with old adversaries, possibly dragging Britt into a web of espionage she never signed up for. Ever the fierce protector, with her own hidden agenda rooted in a desire to shield him from the vulnerabilities of his recent injuries, like the lingering effects of a brutal attack that left scars both visible and invisible, lashed out in a heated confrontation. She might accuse him of recklessness, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and frustration, reminding him of the fragile recovery he's undergone, from grueling physical therapy sessions to the emotional toll of isolation. Yet, beneath her outburst lies a deeper motive: Britt's secret fear that Nathan's haste could expose her own concealed involvement in a past scandal, one involving falsified medical records to cover up a colleague's malpractice. Their interaction promises sparks of raw emotion, revealing fragments of suppressed truths, perhaps Nathan probing into Britt's recent evasiveness about a mysterious visitor at his bedside, or her hinting at classified files that could append his plans. As these two clash, viewers will uncover tantalizing clues about Nathan's true intentions, whether it's a romantic renewal with Britt or a vengeful pursuit against those who put him here, setting the stage for alliances that could fracture or forge anew in the days to come. Shifting gears to the relentless pursuit of justice across town, Dana Falconeri and Anna Devane are gearing up for a pivotal strategy session that could crack the enigmatic case of the shooter targeting Drew Kane, whose survival hangs by a thread amid mounting suspicions in the Quartermain circle. Anna, the seasoned police commissioner whose career has been defined by dismantling international syndicates, finds herself in uncharted frustration after her bold move on the October 10th episode backfires spectacularly. She had drafted what she believed was an airtight search warrant for the sprawling Quartermain mansion, a fortress of old money and older grudges, only to discover a clerical error. The address listed was off by a single digit, rendering the document invalid and tipping off potential culprits to sanitize the scene. This blunder, born from the high-pressure chaos of coordinating with federal liaisons, stripped away any chance of a surprise raid, allowing shadows to whisk away incriminating items like Edward Quartermain's antique revolver, heirloom weapon with a notorious history of family feuds that once led to a hushed-up altercation decades ago. When the PCPD storms back with the corrected warrant, the gun is nowhere to be found, vanished into the mansion's labyrinth in attics, or perhaps buried in the manicured gardens where secrets have long been interred. Anna's scrambling now intensifies, her mind racing through contingency plans, from re-interviewing household staff who might have glimpsed suspicious late-night movements to tracing bullet casings that match a rare caliber linked to black market arms dealers. Enter Danta, her sharp-minded protege and a detective whose street-smart instincts have unraveled countless Port Charles mysteries, including his own tangled family ties to the mob. As they huddle over case files in a dimly lit precinct room, coffee cups steaming amid stacks of photos showing Drew's blooded arrival at the Dante proposes innovative angles like cross-referencing security footage from the harbor docks where Drew was ambushed, potentially revealing a fleeting glimpse of a hooded figure with a telltale limp from a prior gang skirmish. Their collaboration isn't just procedural. It's laced with personal stakes, as Anna confides in Dandy about her guilt over past oversights in similar investigations, while he shares insights from his undercover days that mirror the Quartermain power plays. Together, they might unearth overlooked evidence, such as a discarded glove fiber tying back to a lesser-known relative's alibi, propelling the probe toward a breakthrough that exposes not just the shooter, but a broader conspiracy threatening the city's elite. Tying into the escalating web of deception surrounding Drew's ordeal, spoilers tease that an alibi is destined to crumble under scrutiny, unraveling like a frayed thread in the intricate tapestry of lies spun by those closest to the crime. This revelation, hinted at from Thursday's build-up, points to a key player whose fabricated story, perhaps a convenient claim of being at a charity gala during the shooting, begins to falter when forensic timelines clash with eyewitness accounts from the event. Imagine the tension as interrogators zero in, the suspect's composure cracking under the glare of fluorescent lights, sweat beading as they fumble for consistency in a narrative piece together in haste. This collapse could ripple outward, implicating accomplices who thought their cover was ironclad, and force a reevaluation of motives ranging from corporate sabotage to personal vendettas rooted in Quartermain boardroom battles over legacy assets. Meanwhile, in the cozy yet charged atmosphere of Carly Spencer's home, Jocelyn Jacks is caught in a web of her own making, spinning a partial truth that ignites a firestorm of maternal fury and demands for accountability. As the October 8th episode closed on that poignant kitchen scene, Jocelyn, her eyes brimming with manufactured tears that betray her inner turmoil, confesses to Carly about Vaughn's deception, painting him as a duplicitous WSB agent who shattered her trust with layers of hidden loyalties. This isn't the full picture. Jocelyn omits her own complicity in overlooking red flags, like Vaughn's evasive answers during late-night stackouts or his unexplained absences that align suspiciously with WSB chatter. Carly, no stranger to betrayal from her own entanglements with covert operatives and mob enforcers, erupts in outrage, her protective instincts flaring as she slams her fist on the counter, insisting that only one voice can clarify this mess: the man himself, Vaughn, whom she vows to confront with the ferocity of a lioness guarding her cub. Her demand stems from a lifetime of hard lessons, from Sonny's absences to her own brushes with espionage, leaving her zero tolerance for threats disguised as romance. On Friday, Jocelyn, heart pounding with a mix of guilt and resolve, tracks down Vaughn in a shadowy alley rendezvous point, whispering the bombshell that her mother is now armed with the truth about his WSB ties. Vaughn's shock registers like a physical blow, his eyes widening in disbelief, hands clenching as he processes the fallout. Realizing this exposure could torpedo his mission and endanger everyone involved, including a safe house operation he's been quietly building against a rising threat syndicate. Their exchange crackles with urgency, Jocelyn pleading for him to come clean while he counters with fragmented explanations of his oath-bound secrecy, hinting at a larger plot involving encrypted files that could link back to the Drew shooting. This fib not only strains Jocelyn's bond with Carly, but propels Vaughn into damage control, perhaps leading him to fabricate a deeper cover story that intertwines with the Quartermain investigation, adding unforeseen alliances or betrayals. The powder keg truly ignites when Jason Morgan and Jack Brennan resume their volatile standoff, a clash of titans where loyalties are tested and threats fly like bullets in the dim underbelly of Port Charles' underworld connections. Picking up from Wednesday's simmering tension, Brennan, the cunning WSB director whose silver tongue has navigated global crises, had smugly assured Jocelyn that he'd neutralized the Jason situation, underestimating the enforcer's unyielding code. Now face to face in a neutral warehouse echoing with the distant hum of shipping cranes, Brennan levels a dire ultimatum, If Jason breathes a word to Carly about Jocelyn's entanglement with WSB agents, he'll orchestrate a one-way ticket back to Steinmauer prison, dredging up Jason's haunted history of wrongful incarceration and lost years. But Jason, forged in the fires of countless betrayals from his presumed deaths to resurrections that hardened his resolve, brushes off the intimidation, his steely gaze fixed on the bigger threat, Jocelyn's vulnerability in this spy game. Prison bars mean nothing compared to the peril facing Carly and her daughter, women he's sworn to shield through stormy alliances and quiet vigils. In a chilling retort, Jason warns Brennan that any harm befalling them will unleash a reckoning of biblical proportions, his words laced with the implied violence of his enforcer past, evoking memories of takedowns that left rivals regretting their ambitions. This face-off isn't mere posturing. It delves into Brennan's psyche, revealing his desperation to contain leaks from a botched operation that once involved Jason's own encrypted communiques. While Jason probes for weaknesses, perhaps alluding to Brennan's overlooked family ties in Port Charles that could be leveraged, fans can anticipate visceral intensity, with physical posturing escalating to near blows, interrupted only by an incoming alert about the Drew case that forces a tenuous truce, hinting at how their rivalry might inadvertently aid the greater good or doom it. Capping off the episode's emotional roller coaster, Willow Tate faces a moment of profound shock in Elizabeth Baldwin's warmly lit living room, where family bonds teeter on the edge of reconciliation or ruthless manipulation. Wandering in unexpectedly, perhaps drawn by a cryptic note from Lith about the children's well-being, Willow freezes at the sight of Michael Corinthos, his presence a stark reminder of their fractured marriage amid her cancer battle and custody woes. Michael, ever the strategic heir to the Corinthos empire, delivers a staggering olive branch. He's decided to lift the restrictions, allowing Willow full access to see their kids, Wiley and Amelia, whose innocent faces have haunted her dreams during months of isolation. This announcement, long craved by Willow as a lifeline to her maternal role, floods her with tentative joy visions of bedtime stories and park outings flashing before her eyes, yet it's undercut by undercurrent of doubt. As Michael's demeanor carries the weight of calculation, his eyes flickering with unspoken agendas. Unbeknownst to Willow, this gesture might be a meticulously laid trap, orchestrated by Michael to lure her into vulnerability, positioning her as an unwitting pawn in framing her for the attempted murder of Drew Kane, leveraging her access to hospital records or her brief Quartermain interactions to plant false evidence. Drawing from their turbulent history, Willow's affair with Drew that ignited Michael's jealousy, compounded by therapy sessions revealing deep-seated trust issues, this ploy could stem from Michael's alliance with shadowy figures seeking to protect Elk interests at all costs. As Willow processes the news, probing Michael with questions about the kid's recent antics, like Wiley's fascination with toy cars mirroring his father's, the scene builds to a cliffhanger where a subtle slip of misplaced document on the coffee table hints at the deception, leaving viewers questioning if Willow's guarded optimism will blind her to the snare or spark a counteroffensive that exposes Michael's gambit and reignites their war-torn love. Next, we will learn about the explosive confrontations and buried secrets brewing in Monday's episode, where loyalties fracture and the ghosts of past deceptions rise to haunt Port Charles once more. In the shadowed corridors of General Hospital, Jason Morgan is set to unleash a tense interrogation on Britt Westburn, zeroing in on her desperate bid to shield young James West from reuniting with his long-lost father, Nathan West, whose miraculous return after a devastating car crash has ignited a firestorm of doubt and danger. Britt's icy demeanor upon Nathan's arrival, her face paling to a ghostly white as she intercepts James at the elevator, murmuring excuses about not being ready yet, betrays a deeper turmoil, one that Jason, with his razor-sharp instincts honed from years of navigating mob wars and espionage, immediately clocks as evasion. The DNA confirmation of Nathan's identity should have been a beacon of joy for the West family, piecing together the fragments of a life shattered by that foggy highway collision 2 years prior, complete with twisted metal and whispered rumors of sabotage by unseen enemies. Yet Britt's interference, blocking James's eager steps toward his dad's room with a firm hand on his shoulder and a fabricated tale of medical protocols, screams of ulterior schemes, perhaps rooted in her own fractured psyche from months of isolation and fear, who orchestrated her daring extraction from the opulent yet sinister confines of the Five Poppies Hotel in Croatia labyrinth and hideout where silk drapes concealed torture chambers and encrypted servers hummed with illicit date won't let this slide easily. He corners her in a quiet alcove near the nurse's station, his voice low and unyielding as he demands, "What's really stopping you from letting that boy see his father?" Her frozen expression during Nathan's entrance, eyes darting like a cornered animal, only fuels his suspicion that this isn't mere overprotectiveness, but a calculated move to bury a truth that could unravel the fragile peace James has clung to since his parents' worlds imploded. As Jason presses, recounting the humid nights in Croatia where he witnessed her terror firsthand, chains rattling against stone walls, her whispers of a greater threat that forced her hand, he paints a picture of Britt not as the villain, but as a woman ensnared in webs spun long before Nathan's crash, possibly involving a rogue WSB faction that once targeted the West lineage for their investigative prowess. Delving deeper into Jason's unyielding quest for clarity, his history with Britt's labyrinth of deceptions positions him as the perfect foil to her crumbling facade, especially as he challenges her flimsy narrative about voluntarily staging her own demise to evade the elusive Hook Killer, a phantom assassin whose poison strikes have left a trail of bodies from the docks to the elite ballrooms of Port Charles. Jason's skepticism runs bone deep. During their escape from Pascal's iron grip, a sadistic operative whose Croatian villa doubled as a black site prison, complete with hidden labs brewing experimental serums, Britt's pleas for silence hinted at coerced silence rather than choice, her hands trembling as she clutched a locket containing a faded photo of James, vowing to protect him from the monsters who took everything. Now, as he confronts her over the James blockade, Jason's patience frays like a worn rope, his mind flashing to the scars on her wrists from those captivity days and the coded messages he intercepted that linked her death to a sinister syndicate far beyond the Hook's reach. Fans are buzzing with theories that Jason intuits Britt's fear in just parental. Perhaps she's piecing together clues from Nathan's hospital chart, like unexplained surgical scars resembling those from experimental reprogramming, suggesting he might be a doppelganger engineered in the shadows of Caesar Faison's twisted legacy, the mad scientist whose genetic obsessions once threatened to clone an army of loyalists. Jason's approach remains measured, his enforcer calm, masking the storm as he states flatly, "I've pulled you out of hell once. Don't make me watch you drag that kid into it," forcing Britt to weigh the cost of deceit against the peril of revelation. If she fabricates more, like claiming Nathan's return stirs old Hook Killer vendettas tied to Maxie Jones's coma-inducing attack, it risks eroding the trust Jason placed in her during their covert flight from Croatia, where shared foxholes forged an unlikely bond amid gunfire and narrow escapes. Yet honesty could boomerang spectacularly, implicating Liesel Obrecht in a cover-up of Nathan's true origins or exposing Maxie to retaliation from Pascal's lingering network, which fans speculate includes sleeper agents embedded in the PCPD, waiting for a signal to strike. Britt's elaborate tangle of falsehoods forms the crux of her isolation, as her frantic efforts to isolate James manifesting in that alarmed glance she shot Nathan through the glass partition. Her body language screaming retreat stem from annoying uncertainty about his authenticity or the chaos his resurrection might unleash, potentially dragging her family into a vortex of retribution linked to her harrowing ordeal abroad. Deep down, Britt's quays an eternal drive to barricade James, whom she's watched grow from a wide-eyed toddler into a resilient preteen navigating his mother's absences, clashes with her professional instincts as a doctor who's seen to many identity crises in the from amnesia cases to outright frauds. If her suspicions hold water, that Nathan endured captivity in the same subterranean lab as her, under the thumb of Jen Sidwell, a shadowy puppeteer who manipulated Pascal like a marionette, then her panic makes sense. Visions of Nathan emerging brainwashed, his once gentle eyes now harboring program directives to eliminate loose ends like Brit's escape. Online forums are alight with fan fervor, dissecting her evasive chat with Nina Reeves in the break room. Jason's probing gaze during their showdown could dismantle this house of cards. He recalls Brit's feverish ramblings in Croatia about a face and echo, hinting at cloned experiments that blurred lines between father and facsimile. Experiments that might explain Nathan's eerily perfect recall of pre-crash details, yet odd gaps in recent events. Will Brit confess the full scope, perhaps revealing an encrypted drive she smuggled out, containing blueprints for Sidwell's mind control tech, or fortify her lies by invoking the Hook Killer as a smokescreen, tying it to anonymous threats she's received via a burner phone? Messages warning the boy pays if you speak. Her dilemma intensifies the drama, as doubling down might preserve the illusion for James's sake, but invite Jason's solo investigation, one that could unearth artifacts from the crash site, like tampered brake lines pointing to corporate sabotage by ELQ rivals. The potential fallout from Brit's confessions looms like a gathering storm over Port Charles, where unveiling the raw truth to Jason could cascade into devastation for her inner circle, fracturing bonds and awakening dormant threats that have slumbered since her staged exit. If Brit musters the courage to admit her doubts about Nathan's legitimacy, perhaps sketching out a timeline of his crash that aligns suspiciously with Sidwell's relocation of assets, including a private jet manifest listing a body double, it would shatter Liesl Obrich's fragile elation. The grandmother, who spent sleepless nights knitting scarves for a grandson she barely knows, convinced his return mends the family's war-torn fabric. Liesl's clingy optimism, born from decades of loss including the Face and Saga's genetic horrors, would curdle into rage if exposed to the imposter angle, potentially driving her to rash actions like confronting hospital security for surveillance tapes that reveal Nathan's unmonitored midnight wanderings. On a broader scale, Brit's admission of her involuntary death, orchestrated not by choice but by Pascal's threats to weaponize James as leverage, complete with fabricated autopsy reports stamped by a bribed coroner, might illuminate a sprawling conspiracy, one intertwining WSB Black Ops with local mob undercurrents, endangering Maxie Jones, whose coma from the Hooks assault leaves her vulnerable to follow-up strikes if the killer's network senses exposure. Jason's leverage from the Croatia rescue, where he bandaged her wounds under moonlight and vowed mutual silence on classified details, hangs precariously. His trust, already tested by Brit's post-escape radio silence, could snap if she stonewalls, prompting him to activate old contacts like Spinelli for digital deep dives into Nathan's medical anomalies, such as elevated neural markers suggesting artificial enhancement. This silence might propel Jason into solitary sleuthing, tailing Nathan to a secluded park bench where cryptic calls to overseas numbers betray his facade, or infiltrating the Five Poppies remnants for survivor testimonies that corroborate Brit's fears. Ultimately, Brit faces an agonizing crossroads. Coming clean risks immediate havoc, James's world crumbling under identity relations, Maxie's recovery derailed by renewed assaults, Liesl's heart breaking anew, or gambling on deception, which could embolden the shadows, leading to a climactic betrayal where Jason uncovers the plot independently, forcing Brit to choose sides in a battle that engulfs the West's legacy forever.